What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego back with some more boxing. Now, if you guys are a fan of social media, you'll know that on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they have this thing called Throwback Thursday, TBT. And that's basically where you post pictures or whatever from the past. So I decided to incorporate that, stay in tune, and evolve with the community and have my own Throwback Thursday. But in this, I want to pay homage to some vintage moments in boxing and really just spotlight a blast from the past. So I'm going to try to do it on Thursdays, just like Facebook and Instagram. And I got to thinking, with boxing, it's funny how much history repeats itself. You'll notice that if you really stay in tune and study up on boxing, there's a lot of similarities between old fight or old fighters and what's happening nowadays. So I put together some. I can't really post the video because of copyright laws and copyright infringements. I don't want anything to go against my channel. So I will put the link in the description. Instead, I will just mention some of them. And if you guys want to study up and see what I am talking about, then you can use the reference links in the description. So one thing I noticed is this year in boxing was crazy. Last 2 years have been crazy in the sport of boxing. Gennady Golovkin fought 3 times, I believe. He fought Curtis Stevens, and in that fight, Stevens was supposed to test Gennady Golovkin. They both have power, and Golovkin was the better man, and he eventually beat Stevens and won by stoppage. So if you look in the, I believe, second round of the Golovkin-Stevens fight, there was a lot of tension in the air. We were just waiting to see who would land the first detrimental blow, that death blow. And obviously it was Gennady Golovkin in this case. And when he knocked Stevens down, Stevens had this sheer look of terror, like he was googly-eyed, like just really wide-eyed, like he didn't know what hit him, like, God damn, woo! Like he was just not from his senses. And this reminded me of when Lennox Lewis swarmed Andrew Galata, who had just beat Riddick Bowe. And after he felt that swarm, he was just like looking up. He just had that kind of that same wide-eyed look, like, God damn, like what just happened? Like a Mack truck just hit him. So that's one comparison that I like to make. Curtis Stevens, when he first got blasted by Gennady Golovkin, and then the Lennox Lewis swarm when he destroyed Andrew Galata in the first round. Another thing, speaking of Lennox Lewis, is Lennox Lewis was involved in some fights that were to be made that never happened and or took forever to happen, to the point where fans lost interest. And that really reminds me of Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Now, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao have been at it since 2008. Freddie Roach has said his piece. Floyd Sr. has said his piece. Both of the fighters have said the piece. Bob Arum, promoters, Golden Boy. Everyone's involved, but no one's making the fight happen. And it really reminds me of Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis. That was the fight to be made at the time in the heavyweight division. You had two big-ass heavyweights who had power. Riddick Bowe had a unanimous decision, Evander Holyfield. And after that fight, he was talking shit to Lennox Lewis. He said, I thought you were someone else, but you're not the man I thought you were. And the two were face to face. And this is what I really like about boxing back in the day versus fast forward to 2013 with social media. Nowadays, you have people who talk shit on Twitter. And I understand you have to evolve with the times, but to me, back then, it was a little bit more real, a little bit more mano-a-mano, face-to-face. And after that Evander Holyfield victory, Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis, they kind of went at it, and they were talking shit. So the link will be in the description, and that really is reminiscent to the Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather fight. It's a fight we don't know. We don't know if it's going to happen. Similar to Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson, but that fight was eventually made. Tyson was fighting on Showtime at the time, and Lennox Lewis was on HBO, so they had to do a joint effort to make the fight happen. But at the time it happened, a lot of people were disappointed. They thought Mike Tyson was past it. He was defeated, and a lot of people wanted to see prime Tyson versus Lennox Lewis. And we didn't really get that. We got the fight when we got the fight, and the rest is history. So I'll put the link in the description on that. Now moving on to Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner just received his first L at the hands of Marcos Maidana. And I really think a lot of it had to do with his machismo type attitude, his MO, his demeanor. This shit is not for the sweet. This is not for the faint of heart. This is like a cruel sport, very cruel. So you have to bring it every time. You have to train hard. Um, if you look at Lennox Lewis, he was filming, I think, Ocean's 11, and he was supposed to fight Hasim Rahman. And from what I heard, he was taking training lightly. He was partying with the celebrities, with the stars, Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, and George Clooney, and all that, filming the movie. He got to South Africa. I think it was either Africa or South Africa where the fight took place. He got to Africa maybe like 2 weeks before the actual fight. And in that fight, we seen the long reigning heavyweight champion, Lennox Lewis, get dropped and stopped. He got knocked out by Hasim Rahman. He later avenged that loss. However, it's a cruel reminder that you got to take this serious. It's all hands on deck. You have to be prepared. And I think ultimately Broner, being young, he he got caught up. He got caught up in the bright lights and the limelight and didn't fully prepare. Now in the fight, Broner was swarmed early, similar to Lennox Lewis and Andrew Galata. And in the fight, there was a moment where Marcos Maidana, out of frustration, did the Victor Ortiz and headbutted Adrian Broner. Now Broner, who was handedly being beat in the fight, was looking for a way out. He was looking for the back door. Like, oh shit, it's real. And I guess he was possibly trying to disqualify Marcos Maidana, which reminds me of another fight, Johnny Tapia versus Giovanni Andrade. And it was only in round two. Tapia was pretty much handily beating Andrade, and I'm sure he realized that. So there was a alleged low blow. It might have been a little bit low, and Giovanni just put it on thick. First of all, he had a delayed reaction, and then he went down to the canvas and he's rolling around like a little kid in Walmart having a temper tantrum, and it was just horrible. People were like clowning him and making fun of him. Um, Obviously, they didn't have social media and YouTube and stuff to rewatch it, but the link will be in the description. Really reminds me of Adrian Broner and Marcos Maidana. It's an example of a fighter who knows he's behind and is looking for that way out. And I think Giovanni did that in the Johnny Tapia fight. He was just looking for any excuse to delay the action or to quit or get his opponent a point taken off, or I don't know. So those are my Throwback Thursday moments. As an added bonus, I'll throw in some knockouts that are very reminiscent to last year's Pacquiao knockout. And one involves a 20-year-old Felix Trinidad who was taking on a veteran champ, Maurice Blocker. And if you watch that fight or watch the knockout, very similar in terms of how he landed face down, just like Pacquiao. And probably a little bit more close to the Pacquiao Marquez knockout would be Jimmy Thunder. Now, this dude was in line to get a fight against Tim Witherspoon, and he was fighting basically a journeyman, a tune-up fighter that he was expected to beat in Maurice Harris, and things didn't go according to plan, and Thunder got dropped, and he fell almost identical to Mike Dallas Jr. against Lucas Batiste or Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez. So just take a look at the highlights, see if you see the similarities that I've mentioned in the video. Let me know some of your Throwback Thursday moments or who you want me to talk about next Thursday, and we'll keep this shit going. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video's Ego, signing off.